Alright guys, Papa Pepper here once again with more of 50 Days to Understand the End Times More Accurately. We're going to do day 12 today, the revealing of the Antichrist. Since I made the claim yesterday that the Antichrist is not revealed by the confirming of the week-long covenant, you may be wondering what event I believe does reveal his identity. Verse 4 of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 is given for the specific reason of making us absolutely sure we know what event reveals the identity of the Antichrist. Quote, "Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." End quote. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 4. It is the abomination of desolation that reveals the Antichrist's identity. If the passage read, "And that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week," we could and should conclude that the confirmation of the week-long covenant reveals the identity of the Antichrist. However, such is not the case. The passage, by the inclusion of verse 4, clearly and undoubtedly points to the abomination of desolation as the identifying event. Interestingly, this is the same event that Jesus points to. Quote, "When ye shall therefore see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains." End quote. Matthew chapter 24, verses 15 and 16. Quote, "But when ye shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing where it ought not, let him that readeth understand. Then let them that be in Judea flee into the mountains." Mark chapter 13, verse 14. In both of these passages, just as in 2 Thessalonians, the event pointed to is the abomination of desolation. Once the testimony of Jesus is considered, a logical question arises. If the confirming of the covenant was what reveals the identity of the Antichrist, why does Jesus not give his audience a 3.5-year head start? Their successfulness in fleeing would be exponentially increased if they started 3.5 years earlier. Why then does Jesus point to the abomination of desolation and not the confirming of the covenant? Perhaps most of the world will be unaware of this covenant and will therefore have to wait for the abomination. As this revealing of the Antichrist's identity relates to the pre-tribulationalism, the error of their view is further exposed. Since he must be revealed prior to the rapture and the return or the beginning of the day of Christ, these two events cannot occur until at least sometime within the second week or second half of the 70th week of Daniel. To not have Jesus return until after the Antichrist arrives and persecutes the believers is not what we would prefer, but our preference does not negate biblical truth. In Matthew 10:22 we are told, "And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth till the end shall be saved." This is certainly not what Christians throughout history of Christianity have preferred, but it is the biblical reality. Many will take a look at the Great Tribulation, Matthew 24:21, and affliction, Mark 13:19, which begins after the abomination of desolation, and desire to have no part in it. When we are told that the Antichrist will make war with the saints and overcome them, Revelation 13:7, no one in their right mind desires to be overcome in a war with the Antichrist. Yet our feelings and our desires cannot change what God reveals as truth. Point number 1. The Antichrist is revealed when he commits the abomination of desolation. Point number 2. This means we may still be upon the earth for this event and experience the persecution that follows it. That was day 12, guys. Papa out.